Yes, that was my laugh in the intro there. I absolutely killed my throat doing about 40 takes of that. So, welcome back to the 13 Darkest and Scariest Thomas adaptations. It is entry number 9 today. We're reviewing The Wandering Coach, adapted by Sudry and Steamers, written and narrated by good old 22 Tesla, who's been quite active in the comments for this series. Always awesome to hear from the actual writers and directors of these adaptations. Let's begin the review, shall we? We open with Sir Handel sulking at night in the works, angrily ranting about his cattle truck coaches. This is very much in tune with the model series and the railway series. This trait of Sir Handel's attitude has always been a part of his personality. He's always stated that real coaches had bogies and not single axles. While he is sulking, a large red tender engine backs into the sheds next to him, with carrying a single coach that was cream and green colored with single axles. The engine was covered in grime and various muck. It seemed like he was dirty, which is strange because the NWR takes care of their locomotives.
Alone and frustrated.
Those blasted cattle trucks! I'll be sure to teach them a jolly good lesson when I next see them. Maybe the thing controller will get some real coaches for a change.
They are real coaches, even if they don't look like it.
The voice made Sir Handel jump. He looked over to the standard gauge line next to him. A big, red tender engine, pushing a single coach, was backing down into the sidings. But this engine didn't have a number on its tender, just the letters LNWR. The coach had 2 axles, was painted cream and white with yellow lining like the express coaches. As the engine came alongside, it looked down at Sir Handel. Both engine and coach were covered in grime and dirt. To see an impressive red engine with a coach looking this shabby, it was honestly shocking, since it was known that the NWR took care of its engines. Why not this one? The engine spoke again.
Coaches come in many shapes and sizes, my dear engine. You wouldn't like me calling you a toy, would you? Are to be respected, only bumped when they themselves misbehave and are awkward during passenger runs. Mistreat your coaches without cause, and they will mistreat you.
Rubbish!
Oh, then I guess no one has ever told you.
The engine said, a cold smirk forming on his face.
Told me what?
Oh, nothing. Just something I've heard. And it's too late for stories. You wouldn't.
Yes, I would. What was I supposed to be told?
The big engine grinned a little wider, steam hissing quietly.
This big red engine corrects Sir Handel's scorning attitude towards his coaches, and tells him a story of an engine who thought the same way.
Another engine was a large Clawton from the LNWR. This engine had glistening red paint with black side plates. This engine, named Afton, was more picky about the kinds of coaches he was given. He saw all the old single-axle Victorian rolling stock as relics. Like the other visiting engines, he was absolutely appalled at the idea of pulling goods trains, because to see a grand engine such as him doing so was an insult. One morning, Afton huffed into the station. He was to be pulling the local stopping service today. But as he neared the station, he was given the small single-axle coaches. While they were painted in the NWR cream and dark green, they were smaller and older than the bogie coaches given.
What's this? I'm pulling this ghastly groaning train today? The indignity of it all!
Afton backed up to them. They had heard what Afton had called them and were not happy. "Who is this rude engine?" asked the lead coach. "An improper engine if he's pulling us," said another. "I'd rather be pulled by Edward or even Thomas. At least they are proper engines who know how to treat coaches right," the brake coach added.
Shut up! I am a proper engine, better than Tiny Thomas or Old Iron Edward. Now come along!
The guard's whistle blew, and Afton huffed out of the station in a rage. His face was almost as red as his paint. The old coaches groaned and creaked. They were older and were not used to running at express train speeds. They tittered nervously as they rolled along.
Slow down! Slow down!
They wailed.
Shut up! Shut up!
Afton barked back. Just then, the brakes on the train came on. Afton stopped suddenly on the viaduct, grumbling dreadfully. An investigation of the coaches showed that the coach just behind the engine had a loose vacuum hose. While the crew set about fixing the problem, Afton fumed angrily. He thought the coaches were doing that on purpose, making him late.
Afton returns to the station and begins to back the train down into the yards, into a siding. The coaches are still grumbling about their dreadful journey that Afton had took them upon. Afton is obviously not paying attention as he's backing him down, instead arguing with the lead coach, who is grumbling dreadfully about her ride.
At least you two were further away from him than I was. I had to endure his groaning all the way here,
said the lead coach.
It would have been better if you'd not decided to hold me up, you rotten old intake.
What? You blame me for that? That was your fault.
Pull the other one, you horrid thing.
Afton quickly lost his temper. His boiler pressure shot up, and amid the hiss of his safety valve, there was a bang, and then a splintering crunch.
Afton backs into the buffers hard, completely destroying that. But that wasn't the only damage done. His lead coach was completely splintered and smashed into a twisted pile of splintered wood and bent metal. The other coaches screamed and were horrified at what happened to their sister. Afton remorselessly and cruelly ignores this fact that he just killed a sentient coach, really putting his narcissistic and arrogant personality on full display for everyone to see. One night, Afton takes a night express train. No one notices the small single-axle coach in between his tender and the first express coach. But as Afton takes off into the night, it happens.
Special's guard standing there, panting heavily.
Have you seen our engine?
He asked.
What engine? No engine has passed by my box for over an hour.
The guard then went pale.
That's not possible. You must be mistaken. I've just come from the midnight special, and I've not seen our engine anywhere. I swear on me mother's head, no train puffed past this signal box, I would have seen it. Come on, man, you're speaking all kinds of rubbish. I am not. Our entire train is missing its engine. It's like it's disappeared into thin air.
A works train was soon dispatched from Crovan's Gate. They found all 6 express coaches sitting on the main line neatly, and the irate passengers. From passenger testimony, they said one moment the train was rolling along smoothly, then, after the tunnel, the train went slower and slower until the coaches ground to a halt. When they looked out the window to see what the problem was, they saw there was no engine at the front of their train. Workmen investigated the coaches for damage, but none was found. The coupling on the lead coach was intact. While the works engine pulled the train back to the station, the workmen searched up the line. Perhaps the engine had derailed somewhere before Kelsthorpe, and the guard just missed it. However, nothing. No trace of an engine, or even an accident, could be found.
Afton disappears. His driver and fireman were found sleeping on a bench by a porter at the next station, with no recollection of what just happened. All the passengers were accounted for, despite them insisting that there was one more coach. And no trace of the big red engine was ever found. The story ends, and the big red engine speaks to Sir Handel once more.
Just doesn't happen. Ghosts don't exist, and coaches certainly can't do that either.
The big red engine looked down at Sir Handel before sniffing and looking up. Even without the engine looking down, his voice still made Sir Handel shudder.
Deny it all you want, little engine. But heed my warning, even something as humble as a coach does not take kindly to be mistreated. They have their ways of getting even, and a simple matter such as death won't offer protection from retribution.
Whatever, big engine. Anyways, it's late and...
I have a name, you know, you impudent little bug.
Oh? And what is that then?
Afton.
Suddenly, the coach creaked loudly. The red engine, Afton, gave a heavy sigh.
I've rested long enough. I must be going. We must keep time, you know.
Sir Handel blinked as his own words echoed back at him. The big engine hissed steam and slowly pulled out of the sidings, the coach creaking and groaning as it was dragged behind. Soon, it vanished beyond the gloom of the yard lights and was gone.
The big red engine leaves, and Sir Handel is left until the morning. The following morning, he meets Gordon at the station. He recollects the events of last night to him before telling him about the big red engine, Afton. Suddenly, he realizes what he encountered. Sir Handel is now a changed engine, being basically scared straight by the big red engine. Treats his coaches with the utmost respect, as we get a big glimpse of a big streak of red in the night, and a ghostly whistle blows.
One coach in tow can be heard, a flash of red can be seen, and then in a blink of an eye, the engine is gone into the night. Gone without a trace.
This is a beautifully crafted Twilight Zone-esque story. Beautifully shot and directed by Sudrian Steamers, and some masterclass writing by 22 Tesla. But let's see where this ranks. The establishing shots of the narrow gauge line is beautiful. There's so much bright and warm and lighting and a cheery atmosphere. However, the night sequences are a bit too dim, especially with the quality of graphics that we have to work with here. I want to be able to see those models pop a little bit more whilst keeping that night shading. So a cool hint of blue works well enough to bring out those brighter colors more. And a little bit more exposure makes it look like the moonlight is reflecting off of the environment. This is really, really awesome, but the night sequences need a little work. 9 points here. Now, when it comes to narrating and voice acting, 22 Tesla, the one who wrote the story, is the one voice acting here, and it's really awesome. Especially narrating the melancholic apparition of Afton.
Misbehave and are awkward during passenger runs. Mistreat your coaches without cause, and they will mistreat you.
To his boastful and brash tone of voice in the story he tells.
This. I'm pulling this ghastly groaning train today? The indignity of it all!
I love the voice he makes for the coaches as well. For some reason it reminds me of Pops from Regular Show, instead of Posh Ladies of Leisure. But I think it's still a good voice.
Is this rude engine? Asked the lead coach. An improper engine if he's pulling us.
Good show! Jolly good show! His whiny and nasally sounding voice for Sir Handel is on point with his attitude. All in all, there's so much variety here. His narration, however, as much as I love you, Mr. Tesla, sometimes it sounds like he's just reading a script. Other times it sounds like he's putting some emotion into it. It's a little inconsistent.
To him, they were simply cattle trucks with their single axle and wheel. Real coaches, he would say, quietly from his pistons. Despite this engine's red paint, Sir Handel felt it should have been painted blue from the cold feeling he was getting from this engine.
I'm gonna give it a 19 points here. The characters and sound effects. These sound effects are great. I especially love the haunting whistle Afton has, and the characters are beautifully written. The ones that are canonically written like Sir Handel are done greatly, but Afton himself and the coaches are amazing with their personalities and emotions here. 10 points. Definitive 10 points. The music here is a creepy, subtle, and unsettling mix and really puts the whole mood in motion throughout this entire story. I'm giving it a solid 10 here. And the final score for The Wandering Coach is a 48 out of 50, which means it's going to be another tiebreaker between this, the Half Engine, and James's Discovery. As always, I will see you in the next video, but before I go, since we're at the tail end of the series, you're going to have to vote for the last 4. Which one will we next cover? Because I'm really indecisive here. I really don't know where to begin with this. We're on the last 4 videos of this series. So a vote box will go up sometime this morning or this afternoon. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.